Hi, I'm Alex Nick, and this is Learning to Live Life in Mali. On my trip to Mali as a foreign exchange student, I expect to experience some homesickness and culture shock. I will, with Mali being so much different from how I live my day-to-day life, I do think I will miss home until I get used to the daily routine there. I will also have to be extremely careful with this being my first experience traveling to an unpredictable and unstable country. Mali is currently listed as one of the top 5 most dangerous countries. With this in mind, I will make sure that I am able to communicate in French comfortably since French is most widely spoken in the urban areas where I plan to live. As an exchange student, I plan on living with a host family. I expect this to be a major adjustment. The host families normally include many family members living in one house, which I will not be used to at all, especially being an only child. Learning about my host family and learning their customs and routines should teach me how the daily life is in Mali. Travel will need to be arranged and planned out. There isn't any formal bus system and the infrastructure is poor. With security issues being a major concern, there are people that you can pay as guides that have been recommended by the United States and other foreign countries to take you to different destinations safely. Walking or riding a bike will most likely be my way of traveling around the city that I will be staying in. While living there in the city with my host family, I will be able to rely on them to take me around and show me all the important places. French is the most spoken language with foreigners. French is most often spoken when dealing with commerce, the government, and in the schools. In 2023, Mali dropped French as the official language and has moved it to a working language. This will be a challenge to use a second language. If you travel to the local markets, local villages, or in family homes, most people in Mali use their native language. There are many different American languages spoken in Mali. It is also highly recommended to learn a few basic greetings that locals use with each other in local language. Those greetings will be different depending on where you go in the country. It is said that Mali has 79 different languages, but according to a 2009 census, Mali listed 15 languages spoken. One of the most widely spoken African languages in Mali is Bambara. Bambara is spoken by half of all Malian people as their first language. Bambara is mostly spoken in central and southern Mali. Many of Mali's people do speak it as a second language. In Mali, when you don't know someone that well, you will give them more personal space. The closer you are to a person, the less space there will be between you while speaking. Shaking hands is a normal custom, but only using the right hand. Using your left hand for anything dealing with anyone else is considered very rude. I am left-handed, so I will need to train myself to use my right hand. As far as being on time in Mali, you should be on time for meetings to do with business, even though it will start late typically. Small talk is also expected before any meeting starts. Professional titles should be used in Mr. or Mrs. until you get to know the person. Malalians normally call each other by their last names. Generally, meetings also go longer than are scheduled. But when it comes to other gatherings, Malalians are rarely on time. It is not considered rude to be a few hours later than the time that was given. So being on time isn't expected, but being patient is. The communication style in Mali is never rushed. You must not be annoyed by the slow pace and learn the unhurried lifestyle. Malians are very welcoming to foreigners. They mostly tend to have a more indirect style of communication. Starting a conversation should begin with your right hand over your chest as a sign of respect. It is customary to have small talk at the beginning. Handshakes with the right hand are also quite common when beginning a conversation. Indirect eye contact is common while speaking. Looking down or away is considered polite. Overly using direct eye contact is viewed as rude or a threat. Learning these social skills will take practice, which should not be too uncomfortable to pick up. A hug would be common first if you are friends with the other person. If you are speaking with an elder, you should bow your head or give a slight head nod to be respectful. Greetings or small talk to start a conversation are long, with each person going through the same questions from their health and family to how you slept, ending with some sort of blessing to each other in the end. Then the actual purpose of the meeting can be spoken about. It is also quite common for people in Mali to communicate through other people. They prefer to send a message indirectly through the other people. It is particularly important that when having a conversation with any elder person in Mali, you do not interrupt them. It is considered extremely rude. Also, when an elder is speaking, one should never question them or disagree with them, even if the elder is completely wrong. Mali people have a great respect for their elders and strictly follow the general rule to not question anything an elder says, especially in front of others. When speaking to them, you should not make eye contact, but look down or away while speaking. This is also true when speaking with someone of a higher social standing, religious leader, or a boss. Mali is a country that is blended with Islam and Black African traditions. There is a small number of Christians in the country. Most Malians are moderate Muslims and speak of peace, tolerance, and unity. But in the northern region, the African traditions go back to the Middle Ages, and they richly blend with that French culture following years of colonial domination by the French. There are many different African tribes that inhabit the country, with each having their own traditional language spoken among them. Mali people have an extraordinarily strong sense of community. The majority of its population reside along the Niger River. Mali is landlocked and one of the largest countries in Africa in land size, but it is relatively small population. In the urban areas, the homes are made of cement and have 2 of the 3 rooms. In the rural villages, homes are made out of mud with thatched roofs. In both places, there normally isn't access to running water or electricity. This is another time that I expect to have culture shock because we are just so used to having these things everywhere all the time. Mali has an ancient musical culture. Music is what Mali is best known for. Music can be heard anywhere you go, whether it's inside or outside. Malian music is said to be similar to rock and blues and jazz music. Malian music is said to be some of the best in Africa. The customs, laws, and regulations closely follow Islamic practices. Dress conservatively, avoid wearing shorts or any revealing clothing. Behave discreetly and respect all religious and social traditions so you don't offend locals. Never point, use your whole right hand instead. Malians are incredibly open to foreigners and will happily help them. Respect is everything in their culture, and they are very hospitable people. Currently, Mali is an epicenter of conflict and instability over the past decade. Northern Mali is a hotbed of terrorist activity with many terrorist groups conducting violent attacks on civilians. Living in a place that is so unstable will be really hard to adjust to and may be one of the hardest adjustments to make. Social activities will vary depending on where you are in Mali. This will be few other American exchange students that will be able to share experiences with, but not more than a handful. Most of the interactions you will have will be with your host family. Living with your host family, you will be able to experience their day-to-day life and be able to make connections by spending time with them and their neighbors. The local markets are usual spot to gather and interact with residents. Some open markets like festivals with music and food where people gather. The local markets are wonderful places to interact with other locals and observe their way of life. In the city of Bamako, there are museums to explore, parks, and many restaurants. Also, in Bamako, Mali has men and women's national football team. These games are attended by a great many locals and are a suitable place to meet new people. Football, or what we call soccer, is a big part of Malawian life. Children can often be seen playing in the streets or open areas. The basic common words or greetings that will be used every day in French are bonjour for hello, oui for yes, na for no, and au revoir for goodbye. It is common for an American first arriving in Mali to be called Toubab by the locals. Toubab means whitey. It is not used to be rude, but as a way for everyone to know you, because you will easily stand out while you're there. Until they learn your name, you will probably be heard Toubab a lot when they want to talk to you. Most often, the people will give you Malawian name they will know you by. Living in Mali, I plan on learning how it is to live in a close-knit community, but also grow as an individual from all the experiences that stepping out of your comfort zone will bring.